Alright, hello all you crazy people out there, my name is Dragonite, and welcome back to Harvest December. With a small pop, a firework went off, sending a cloud of white smoke drifting across Tagami town. Early in the afternoon. That is the completely wrong time of day. Early in the morning, all of the students that went home for a brief nap had crawled out of their beds. With sleep still in their eyes, they made their way into the school using the gates that in the back normally reserved for staff. Today was an exception because the main gates were for guests. The back gates were small, but students filed through. Yawn. Look out. Swinging blow from the back. Please stop trying to push your fist into my mouth. Mizukami-san and I were on the gate duty, standing by the main entrance. Our job was to welcome guests and to point students to the right way so they would use the back gates. There was already a crowd of people on the other side of the gates waiting to enter. Wake up. Mizukami-san slapped a sleepy-eyed boy on the cheek. She must have pressed the button because the boy immediately looked refreshed and began running toward his post eagerly. I feel like a god! I hope he's alright. I felt a migraine coming on again. Sleepy students dragged their feet towards the classrooms. But they all looked somewhat happy, despite their tired faces. Tagami, our cultural festival, whatever that is, was filled with mixed excitement. There were people who were participating for the first time, those who had done it before, eager to do it again, and lastly, those who had participated for the last time. I was somebody that had valued what a single human being could do, but I also knew that some great things could only be done in numbers. It's time. I imagined the long day ahead, and as Kohai had said earlier, I could almost feel the excitement oozing through the windows plastered with flyers. Even in areas where people wouldn't pass, there were posters written in beautiful calligraphy pasted on the walls, all done by the gods participating this year. Yeah, it's time. Also, I just noticed the bunny on that one thing on the top screen. Yeah, sure, bunnies. We stared at the open school clock, the only area that wasn't... We stared at the school clock, which I hope wasn't open, the only area that wasn't decorated over. The minute hand struck up. Static buzzed from the speaker. As of now, the 78th Culture Festival has begun. Cheers burst from the all around. Several flyers detached from the windows, floating to the ground like confetti. I pulled the gates open, my body leaning backwards from the effort. All of the guests, the students aren't there. They eagerly moved forwards to step in. Then, attention, attention, stand back! I suddenly felt as if we had slipped back in time. Was that royalty? A large object, almost 3 meters high, was being carried towards our gates. Mizukami-san stood ground. The guests, their smiles still frozen on their faces, began to part to make way. Bells. Bow to Mikami-sama. A young girl drawled as the drum sounded. Wow. The large object swayed from side to side as it moved. A mikoshi. A portable shrine. Alright, sure. A portable shrine is that thing that we carry from shrine to shrine in other festivals, not in a cultural festival. A mikoshi is supposed to be something like a god sedan. The woman carrying it had a fox ears. They looked dainty. They took dainty, careful steps as they moved forward, and upon closer inspection we could see that they weren't carrying the mikoshi at all, but in fact it was floating above their shoulders. The guests took another step back. Mizukami-san and I looked at each other and nodded. Throwing out orders as quick as lightning, we quickly got everybody to remove all obstacles from the entrance. Mizukami-san tossed all the sandwich men aside so they wouldn't stand by the gate. It only took a second. Then... Yeah! Ha! We both ran the gate shut, closing it with all our might. That took 2 seconds. Then, having the gates close in their faces unexpectedly, the mikoshi crashed. Ow! The god sitting on it was thrown into the air. Wow, that's high. Her ladies in waiting commented lazily for a second before they panicked. Ah, wah, 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 wah. We gotta catch her! Which way? Forward, forward! No, the back, the back! Mikoshi went back and forth as it tried to catch the fallen god. The scene looked awfully familiar. Looks like that 8-bit retro game involving firemen. Then the god crashed into the ground. Flat on her face. A pregnant silence. Everybody stood in shock. That was a fall from about 3 stories high. We'll finish her off. No, we don't have to. Oh, she's gotten up. Just as Mizukami-san said, the god stood up from the ground and began making her way to the gates on shaky legs. Mikami-sama... She kept walking towards the gates. We met her face to face, the iron bars between us. She didn't have a single scar on her face, despite scraping it against the asphalt. What did you do that for? She sobbed. Open the door, open it. She grabbed onto the iron bars and began to shake them. The rollers grated against the railings, making a somewhat sad, creaky sound. Should we? What should we do? You're a bad person. It's my fault. I felt like crying too for an entirely different reason. Mizukami-sama pulled the gate open. Welcome. She made a welcoming gesture. The other guests looked wary, as if to say, Are you sure she's safe? But they took a step forward anyway. Our festival had begun on a funny note. You could say that again. 1 hour later. How long have I been doing this for? That was only like 6 minutes. I'll keep going. It took a while to fix the arch in the entrance, but we were back in business again. More people than last year. Mizukami-sama was counting the number of guests arriving as she pointed with her finger. Why am I supposed to stay here on the side? You're more than human. Precaution. She pointed to Mikami. You make it sound so sci-fi. No, she makes it sound like it's a bad thing. And I haven't even asked for human sacrifices. And you make it sound like you've done that in the past. Anyway, I have a question. Ask away. Not to you, but to you ladies in waiting. Isn't the Mikoshi heavy? I asked the girls carrying the Mikami perched on the Mikoshi. There's too many MIK words here, and I can't read as it is, alright? Lately it has been. She's put on weight. Too much chocolate. Betrayers! Strike! Strike! The girls chanted for better working conditions. Do you mind stepping down from there? My neck's starting to hurt from looking up at you all the time. You want me, a god, to come down to the same level as you? Mikami laughed. Her ladies-in-waiting, however, knew what I was doing and quickly put down the Mikoshi a bit too eagerly. I've heard a lot about you, but you exceeded my expectations. Who are you? Read your history books if you want to know who I am. I've been called by the god of Tagami to make a visit. So you're Shiro's... I'm her Sanba, midwife. I helped deliver Ao too. I guess I should say I must have been tiring trip and welcome to Tagami. What kind of a greeting is that? I'm a god, don't you have respect? Don't you have other ways to show respect? She made it so difficult. I felt someone poke me in the back. I'm going to help the others. Mizukami-sama glanced at the entrance. Several guests are being pestered by the sandwich men. Be careful. Mizukami-san said not to me, but to Mikami. Why? You'll be delivering your own baby if you aren't careful around that one. Wait a minute. What kind of person do you think I am, Mizukami-san? I'm almost a victim, too. She covered her cheeks with her palms, but she wasn't even blushing. I thought about 100 different things I could say to defend myself, but Mizukami-san simply left to pull the sandwich man away from the guests. Is she really human? Mikami said in disbelief. Sometimes I wonder that myself. And why are you distancing yourself from me? Men are all big bad wolves. That's a bold statement. Look at the history of your race. I have a feeling you have a good argument, but I beg to differ. There are those pure at heart too. No, there aren't. One little touch and boom, pregnant. I managed to do that without touching anybody though. Wirelessly. I said out of exasperation. Then the reaction I got was, whoa. She was clearly disgusted with me. Think you'd joke about that? Scoundrel. Beast. We'll have to stay at least a mile away from him or we'll all get inseminated. Hey, it's because of you gods that I'm put in this difficult... It's because of you gods that I'm put in this difficult position. What are you all quarreling about? I felt relieved to hear a familiar voice. How did you find me? You're about the only person I know that could cause a scene about impregnating girls at this time of day. I felt like dying. It's been a while, God of Tagami. Indeed it has been, Mikami. The ladies in waiting got on their knees. As I've told you before, Mikami will be our midwife. Why would a god choose to become a midwife? I asked without thinking. The last time we put Shiro through medical checkup, we had learned that physically she wasn't much different from a human. Also, Yuki is human. Shouldn't a human doctor deliver the child? However physically structured the mothers may be, the child bears the soul of a god. You know about the importance of unifying the soul to the body, don't you? I thought of the hard training some went through to reach nirvana. Then I thought of the incarnation. Perhaps the qualities of being human and God flowed like electricity, going back and forth and distributing throughout the body. I wouldn't say it's impossible for a human midwife to deliver the child, but given that she has some creativity. But then, I am immortal. You're saying that your techniques don't need to be passed on to anybody else. Exactly. So I will do the job. It is only once in a century that a god is born. Having one midwife is enough for us. Her faint smile disappeared, and she suddenly turned serious. You may not realize this, but you're attracting a lot of attention in the god world, Masaki. God world? Our society is suffering from declining birth rates as well. And when you come along, you impregnate not one but two women at the same time. My word, Masaki. And you didn't even need to lay a finger on them. Talk about the possibilities. You've gained quite a reputation as being a stud, Masaki. Thanks, visual novels. I don't need a reputation like that. Headache again. All the gods around the world are celebrating, eager to welcome another of our own. A god is created from condensed belief, like ethnocentrism. Overseas, they are often inbred. We are weakening as a whole. In this country, there is a culture that believes in nature, in the land, so we are quite diverse, similar to spirits and closer to spirits, or fairies. Gods with an ability to think like people are often hard to come by, and with rules of the boundaries, finding a partner to mate with can be difficult. Mate? That's quite a concept. That's a concept you're familiar with, isn't it? I held my tongue. So we can never be too careful receiving a new god into this world. Giving a child a home is the parent's responsibility. Giving a child a place is the midwife's responsibility. I see. That is why... Oh no. Shiro made a bitter face. A lot of gods have been expressing interest in your child. Mikami pulled out a handful of photographs the size of trump cards. Look at this one. How about this god? A bit young, born in the 17th century, but I think because of the similar age gap they can relate to each other better. I can arrange for a match in the next century. What do you think as the father? We don't even know if the child is male or female. Gender isn't a problem for this god. Well, can I set them up? I think we should take the child's wishes into consideration. If that is the mindset, if you keep that mindset the way humans do, your kid will stay single for at least a century. Just like you, I presume. Hey, you don't need to point that out. Anyway, if you aren't eager to arrange a marriage for your kid yet, how about you? Huh? Me? Gods aren't fussy about monogamous relationships, I've noticed. The more the merrier. If I remember correctly, a lot of Indian and Greek gods faced the terrible fates just because of jealousy and relationship issues. That's something you will have to sort out for yourself. Isn't that irresponsible? Come on, I've only got one more pair of matchmaking till I hit the record of 100. I really want to hit that mark. So that's what this is all about. Back to matchmaking. Look at this one. I think she'll fit you perfectly since you look a lot like the sort that needs a stronger female. She handed me a photograph. She's born in the BC, so there's a bit of an age gap, but she's the sort that takes good care of her spouse, so I think she'd suit you well. I will call her right now if you want. Who is this bossy busybody? Bossy busybody. What's with all the 5 times fast, like triplets, in the last chapter and a half? Seriously. As God, I know, but I was beginning to doubt her personality. Stop! Shiro butted in between us. I'm not sharing Masaki with anybody. Shiro and Mikami glared at each other. A crowd of people had formed around us. I was just joking, Mikami said as the photograph dissolved into thin air. This reminds me of something in the past. Mikami laughed bitterly. Gods can be quite affectionate, you see. Be careful. Mikami climbed onto her Mikoshi, and the ladies in waiting lifted her up. Now I'm going to take a look at the festival of yours. Please enjoy. Mikami nodded and made her way grandly towards where our shoe lockers were. Then she promptly hit her head on the ceiling. The people that were curious about her followed. I hope you weren't tempted. She wasn't serious. Still, just the thought of you going away disturbs me. Shiro stroked the gentle swell of her belly. A child needs its parents. The baby had grown so much it was obvious she was pregnant now. For some reason, it made me happy. And for some reason, it made me feel cornered, too. Done. Mizukami-san returned. Shiro looked wary of her, as if she had an impression she wasn't just any normal human being. Message for you. Mizuho says to come help her. Sorry I wasn't much help to you. You were. How so? You gathered more guests. She was implying that the spectacle we created had served as an attraction. She stuck her thumb up in approval. I sighed. We were only an hour into our festival, and already so much had happened. Getting busy. Alright, I'm going to end this off here now. So, for now, my name is Dragonite. I hope you all enjoy that, and I will see you all later.